Nqobile Madlala is following the story for us and joins us now from Matoleville in the west of Johannesburg. Nqobile, great to catch up with you this afternoon. Just a solitary arrest today. Does it suggest that the police have everything under control?
Well, I think it depends which side you ask. If you speak from the community side, they feel like they're much safer, but they don't believe that it's fully under control yet. And of course, when we got here to Matoleville, we saw for ourselves. In fact, the whole illegal mining was just continuing during the day. When we got to some of these places, we could find equipment. We saw some of the equipment that looked rather different to the ones that we have always seen, which looked a bit more technologically savvy. In fact, they were looking at that equipment, saying that those are some of the new equipments that are being used now. We saw some of the pendukas also being seized. In the area that we were specifically in, you could already see that there were people that were continuing and working, and obviously they heard a wind of the fact that the police are around. Then they started running away, and that's where the chase started between the police and the illegal miners. And once they got to the top of the mountain, that's when they started shooting at the police so that they don't come towards them, and then we saw the exchange of fire. So from the community's point of view, if you are in Rivoli, people feel much safer, but if you are in Matoleville, for example, people here said that they feel very scared because some of these illegal miners live in and around them. And if you hear from all these communities, they will tell you that the crime that takes place, and also for the mere fact that they are terrorized by some of these illegal miners, that their lives are very difficult. When we were in Zamimpilo, already the two ladies that we spoke to, they did say that whilst they can sleep at night now, for the past couple of days, they did say that they would have to close their windows, close their doors, and go to sleep at 5 o'clock p.m. And you can imagine, they said that if you haven't cooked at that time, if you haven't done anything, sorry for you, you have to go to sleep, because all of a sudden there'll be an exchange of fire between the two gangs, and so you'd rather be sleeping. And even then, that does not guarantee that nothing will happen to you. So even though that has subsided in Zamimpilo, it's completely different when you come to Matoleville, because they were saying that they get to see it. In fact, they were the ones that were showing the police the direction, saying, no, you got to move in between. You must remember, these are some of the informal settlements, so the direction or the environmental design becomes very difficult for the police to maneuver, or for anyone really who doesn't live in the informal settlements in the area to maneuver, because the passages are small, but also people know where to hide. And so that's where we started seeing the police doing the chase. They went up into the top of the mountain, and of course some of them then scattered on the other side of the mountain, which we understand leads to the Randfontein side. And of course now what we have seen is, as you can see behind me, you see the SAPS as well, and we've seen the EMS as well as the JMPD. What we've seen is some of the K9 units have decided to go in to the other side of Matoleville, and we understand from the police already that they did try to enter inside some of the area here, because you remember the area that we had entered is further down that side. Now, if you come further down here, they're saying when they tried to enter here, it was the same thing. There was a bit of retaliation from some of the guys that were there, so they had to also have that exchange of fire, and some of the K9 units now has gone inside with that one arrest that we saw a little earlier on. But it is, of course, the operation is continuing. We saw the MMC as well continuing with some of the units inside. We do understand that he's back, and mostly what you see here is some of the people that are still waiting to be addressed in terms of which direction are they now going. We heard from the MMC as well, Hugo, from earlier on, that there's a lot of crime that takes place here. Mainly rape is some of the crimes that take place here, which will be GBV really. For some of the women here, they are scared. We've seen this happening in West Village as well. But you can see that the crime just takes place within and wherever this criminality has not been clamped on. And this is what the JMPD, of course, with SAPS and all the other units are trying to do, because they believe that in a collaborated effort, there's a better chance of them winning.
Nqobile, a number of questions arise from that report that you've just given us. And one of those questions is, how many arrests have been made to date? What is the police strategy to deal with these illegal miners? Will they continue tracking them down? I mean, how will they know that they've arrested all of them, or at least put to bed some of the challenges that the residents of Riverlea or Matoleville are facing?
Well, I think really to talk about arresting all of them might not be something that they can do in one day or in a few operations. That will take time. In fact, when we were speaking to the MMC, it was telling us that the illegal mining has a couple of layers, that it's structured, that it works differently. And if you speak to some of the Riverlea community leaders, they were telling us the same thing, saying some of these guys seem to look like they're trained. The way that they would fight with each other, the way they walk, the formation they walk in, all of that, it looks like it's something that is organized. Now, if you listen to the MMC, when we spoke to him earlier, he did say that there are three parts to this. There are the guys that are currently mining, who would be underground. You have the guys that are doing security, who are making sure that these guys that are mining safely, in a sense. And then you have the guys that want to take the gold, who would be stealing the gold from the illegal miners, of course. So these are the three parts that are already taking place. And when you gather from the community, for example, in Riverlea, you are hearing that the people that are currently fighting are the different groups that are rivalry, but they're saying that they're from the same place. It seems like they have broken to two, and as a result, those two groups are currently fighting. And now what you're seeing then is that the two different groups that are fighting in front of people, and as a result you find casualties, and these are the communities that are caught in between those fights, and that's where the criminality takes place. And you see GBV, and you see them fighting over turfs, and as a result then you find these communities caught in between. But what they're fighting for is really where there is a hole where they're able to mine. Earlier on, we heard from some of the communities, they were saying that there's money that is being paid to go underground. Some of them were telling us it's 100 Rand just to go inside that mining, that tunnel, or that shaft. Really, so they pay 100 Rand, but they'll make more money when they come out. And of course, when they come out, there's this gang that wants to steal from them. So if they are going to be fighting this illegal mining, there has to be all different kinds of operation and collaborated efforts where they are able to take every single part of it. And I don't think that's something that can be done in one day, but it can be something, obviously, that can be curbed. And that's what we have seen with the police, that the police presence has made things different for some of the communities. But today, of course, the arrest that we have only seen is just one. But this is, of course, remember, at the back of the fact that before Imbizo, there were some arrests that were made, and if I stand to be corrected, it's over 194 that were made already. So this adds to that, and already the minister had said it was over 200, with 170 of those people being illegal immigrants. But the MMC was saying today that you must remember that crime is a crime. It doesn't matter which country you're from. If you are part of a crime, we must see the law takes its course.
Nqobile, before we let you go, just give us some perspective on this. You talked about a number of layers within these syndicates, and you spoke about how organized it is. You also indicated that some of the equipment that was seized is very, very modern equipment, suggesting that there are structures, as you've said, that there are individuals, people, organizations that could be financing this mining activity. So stopping the miners themselves, with these illegal miners, does not necessarily does not kill the head of the snake, so to speak. Has the MMC or JMPD or SAPS spoken about the strategy to deal with or try and apprehend the leaders of these gangs or cartels?
Well, from the minister, we did hear him saying that they were going to speak to the president, and that all different departments were going to come together, including the Department of Justice, and they were going to come together and find that strategy. But from the MMC, we have heard that they are going after the kingpins. Now it's a matter of identifying those kingpins. And most of them have alluded in saying that some of those kingpins are people that live amongst areas like Santon. And that's what they have referred to. And they've said that from the minister, if you remember, in Imbizo, he already said that some of the different levels of Zama Zama they've been able to arrest, which he said is about level 4, which they were able to arrest. And some of those guys live in the suburban areas. Now, if you listen to the MMC, you can hear that there's some form of intel that they are following. But they're saying that the only way to then curb or to fight that crime is if all the different departments are able to work together, because everybody has a speciality or something that they specialize in, and they can use that. I mean, when we saw the K9 units today, it was prevalent that they were able to fight the Zama Zamas, because they were in the forefront. They were the ones that were able to shoot back when the Zama Zamas were shooting, and everybody else was coming from behind them. So now, if you look at the fact that there are certain ways of specific efforts that they bring, then you will see that then when they collaborate, then it's easier. Even the Department of Home Affairs, a lot of people has alluded that if they come also, that things will be different. But interestingly, when we went to Imbizo, we also saw DMRE saying that they will go back to the minister's office, and he will highlight that the community is asking where DMRE is at the moment. So it does look like, in a sense, that when they come together, they can bring their speciality, and that can be used to fighting this illegal mining as well as the crime in these communities.
I appreciate your time coming to us from Matoleville, giving us a rundown of all that's happened as police make a solitary arrest today, but clearly a heavy presence.